Okay, so let's finish up chapter 10. Did I say 10? Yeah, it is 10. So we were looking at payroll. We were talking about all the payroll rules, the taxes, things like that. You guys remember the fact that FICA has a wage limit, and once you reach that, you don't withhold from people's checks and so on, correct? Okay, so I thought we'd do some examples on how to calculate, and in doing that, we're going to have what's called a payroll register. Yes, ma'am?
I know you kind of went over it last week, but I'm not understanding the $7,000 thing with the unemployment benefit or unemployment tax up to the first $7,000. And so like the first $7,000 somebody earns, that's the only $7,000 that the company pays taxes on. And so if you make $15,000, they don't pay on the other.
They don't pay that particular tax on wages above $7,000.
Really?
Right. And now, as we go through the payroll register, which is what I want to show you next, we're going to be actually calculating that. So you'll see how it goes. Okay? Good. We're going to focus up here on the board tonight because I think it's easier to see all in one straight shot what a payroll register looks like as opposed to doing the slides, because it breaks it down because they're only so wide, so it'll only cover a piece of it. So typical payroll register is going to have a column for name, a column for the number of allowances that that particular employee claims. Everybody remembers what the allowances are, correct? Okay, it's number of tax deductions. The basic way to look at it is you always count yourself. If you're married, you count your spouse. If you have kids, you add one for each of them. So if you're married and have 2 kids, your allowances is typically 4.
Would you count
typically.
your spouse if your spouse is employed?
You're not supposed to, but you can. You can claim as many allowances or as few as you want and adjust the number trying to achieve that I owe 0 taxes at the end of the year. However, when you get to your tax return, you have to claim the accurate amount. If you really have 4, you've got to claim 4. Okay? If you only have 3, you can't claim 4. Marital status, married, single. Cumulative earnings year to date. And the reason for this is to determine how much of the current month's wages are taxable based on the wage floors for FICA or things like that. How many hours you worked, pay rate. Then you get into calculating the taxable wages. Social Security, which is the FICA, the floor is, what did we say, it's about $106,000 this year. Medicare, is there a limit? No, so all of the wages will be taxable there. FUTA is taxable up to what amount? It's the first $7,000 in wages. And then you calculate the deductions for Social Security, Medicare, income tax. Okay? Any voluntary deductions? Remember we talked about that? 401k, if you have to pay part of your medical plan at work, things like that. And then you calculate the net amount of the check. Gross minus all of the deductions gives you net amount. And check number, when they issue the check number, this is kind of like your posting reference. And sometimes you'll see them break it up into different departments. In our example, we're using office and shipping departments. Okay? So let's just get going there. So can somebody help me out? We're going to borrow from the slides, but I'm going to write it all up here if that's okay. And I'm going to go on the names, I'm going to go with initials, or last names. First one is Martinez. And that's Alicia. She claims 1 allowance, but she's married, so she's just claiming herself. And the number of hours that she's worked, 40 hours this period, she gets paid $10 per hour. Good? It's easy. It's very mechanical. You just fill this in. Then we've got a Rodriguez, Jorge, has got one allowance. He's single, different, and he worked 40 hours, and he only gets paid $9.50. Okay? There's a Dunlap George. He has 3 allowances. He's single. Notice single, claiming more than just himself. He worked 45 hours, and he gets $9 an hour. At 45 hours in a week, what do we have that we have to worry about? Overtime, exactly. We have a Wu, Celia, 2 allowances. She's married, 40 hours this week, and she makes $14 an hour. Wonder what she does that she gets paid more. There you go. And a Cynthia Booker, who gets 1 allowance, single, 40 hours. Her pay rate is $480. So does she get $480 an hour? No, we're starting to think maybe she gets paid salary. Okay, good. What'd I win? Okay, the other thing we want to fill in, and we're going to get to make up some fun numbers here, okay? What is their earnings year to date? So, what? 4,000. Martinez, 4,000. Okay. Rodriguez?
7.
Let's pick some higher numbers. Let's go to like 15,000. Okay. Dunlap, let's go to, and, you know, at $9 an hour, I know we're not going to get there, but let's go to 50,000. Okay. He must work 24 hours a day, right? Wu, let's go to 90,000. And Booker, we're going to go to 110,000. Okay, so I've got all kinds of different things going on there. Good? I have made a boo-boo here, and that I didn't put in a column for gross pay. Therein lies the bummer. Yeah. Well, I don't want to stop and rewrite the whole thing at this point. Okay. So then I need current earnings. Okay?
That's the same as gross pay.
Yes, we could write gross pay in there, but it's the earnings in the current period. So 40 times 10 is 400, yes. 40 times 950, somebody with a calculator? What? Don't wiggle it back and forth. I'm sorry? $380. 45 times 9? 60. 40 times... we've just made a boo-boo. I said 40 and it's 45. So how do we...
40 times 9 is 360.
Okay, it's 40 times 9 is 360.
And then it was
Plus 5 times, what's 9 divided by 2? 4.5. So it's 1350.
67.50.
So we made 6750 there. 360 plus 6750 is 42750. You guys are on fire tonight. Okay, back to just normal 40 hours a week times 14 bucks is 550. I'm sorry.
560.
560. I can't tell if you're saying 60 or 515. Okay. 40 times 480? No, it's 480. Good? Okay. Okay, ready? All right, so we calculated the earnings in the current, let's call it a week, right? Because they worked 40 hours. The next column is where we calculate the taxable wages in the current period. If the wage limit for Social Security is $106,000, how much did they have before, this individual, Martinez? He had $4,000 plus 400, he's at 4,400. So he's under 106,000. So the whole 400 is subject to Social Security tax. Everybody see that? Okay, so Rodriguez, 15,000 plus 380, the whole 380 is subject to Social Security tax. 50,000 plus 427, the whole 427.50 is subject to Social Security. 90,000 and 560, we're still under 106. And 110 and 480, how much of this is subject to subject? Zero, right? Because it's all over 106. They went over before. Good? Okay. Medicare, by definition, there is no limit, so it's all taxable. Good. FUTA, what's the wage limit on the FUTA? 7,000. So
Only Martinez pays.
only Martinez is under. Good. The rest of these are all going to be zero. Zero of those wages are subject to the FUTA tax. Now what if, hypothetical, what if Martinez was at 6,800 and the current wages were $400? That puts him at $7,200, right? So how much of the current wages are?
$200.
It's only 200, right? It's not the full 400, and it's not zero. It's only that first 200 to get you to 7,000. Good? Question? No? Okay. Okay, so here's where we do the math, and we actually calculate the deductions. You guys are quick on your feet with the math tonight, so here we go. 400 times, what's the Social Security tax rate? 6.2. So 400 times 6.2 is? What, 2480? Speak up.
2480, yeah.
2480. 380 times 6.2%.
2356.
2356. 427.50 times
2650.
2650. 560 times 6.2%.
3472.
And let's see, zero is zero. Good. Medicare, what's the rate? 1.45. Okay? So 400 times 1.45%.
I don't know, I'm joking.
$5.08.
508. 380 times 1.45%.
551.
What?
551.
551. 427.50 times 1.45%.
620.
Oh.
620.
620. 560 times 812. 480 times 1.45.
696.
696. Okay. Income tax. I'm going to, does everyone remember how we looked up the income tax?
By those tables.
We used the income tax table. And remember, you go find married, Weekly, right? We're paying everyone weekly. Married weekly, 1 allowance. And you go down the left column, find 400, at least 400, but less than whatever. And you look up how much income tax they pay. Good? Okay. We're going to borrow from the slide straight away. Let's say we went and looked it up and it's $19 for the first person, 34, 23, what? 30, and 49. Okay, that was hard, right? When you actually look it up, make sure you get the right table. The rest of it's pretty mechanical. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, so the $49 on Cynthia, is that because her total yearly wage is so high? Because $480 is not that much.
No. But
$49?
hang on, there's other factors. Married one would pay less than single one. She's the only one at single one. She's probably going to have the most deducted of anyone as a result of that. Okay? Because she has fewer allowances, fewer deductions on her tax return.
Which is quite a bit.
Yeah. It is. Good? Okay. In my example up here, I've only thrown in one voluntary deduction, medical. Let's say the company makes them all pay a nice round. Let's borrow so we can save ourselves some math time. I was going to say Dunlap and Wu pay $40 for dental and vision, and the company covers everything else. Okay? That's really generous. If you can get that job, go for it. I would take it. Good?
At only $9 an hour, you would take it?
If they're providing benefits and you only have to contribute $40 to it, medical, full medical, oh, I'd be all over it. What?
A month or a week?
A week.
That's $160 a month.
Well, that's still really cheap.
Well, it depends on the,
Yeah. Okay. So now we calculate the net amount of the check. How much do we owe these employees? Remember, you may have earned $400 this pay period, but do you get a check for $400? No. All these guys are taking money out of your check. So somebody help me out, or can we cheat this? Let's see if we can cheat this. Here we go. So you take 400 current earnings, subtract the Social Security, the Medicare, the income tax, and the medical, and you get a net check of $350.40. Good? No? It doesn't? Well, let's do the math ourselves then. Okay? Who'd like to do the math for me? What's $400 minus $24.80 minus $508 minus 19?
$351.12.
There we go, better. $351.12. And the next one, Rodriguez. $380 minus $23.56 minus $5.51 minus 34 gives me what?
$316.93.
31693. Okay. Dunlap, 427.50 minus 2650 minus 620 minus 23 minus 40.
$331.80.
Okay. Woo, $560 gross wages minus $34.72, $8.12 minus $30 minus 40 gives us,
We've got the minus 40 because of the medical.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I don't see, it's the medical is over 40?
Yeah, is the four, right.
447.16.
And every other number is right off the PowerPoint slide, except for the top one that you asked on.
Good.
I don't know if the last one is, though. Is the last one?
Let's just double check it. Okay, so the last one is 480 minus 0 minus 696 minus 49 gives us what?
I got 424.04.
424.04.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay,
Probably because they said social security on that one.
probably.
Yeah, you need them.
Yeah, because I'm using it, I changed the earnings so the Social Security could vary. That's why it's different. Okay? Everybody see where we're at so far? Everybody's good, except for that guy. All right, so when we issue a check, you write in the check number 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. And since we're posting this to our general ledger, you can put in a column for each department you may have. You know, some companies have manufacturing, office, they might have accounting, they might have delivery. I just used 2 as an example, office and shipping. And let's say this person and this person work in the office and the rest of them all work in shipping.
Well, why would you write their net pay down instead of everything that went into all of their taxes, even on your side? Because aren't you charging that to them?
You know what? Thanks for saying that, because you caught me making a mistake. Because that's just force of habit, is I'm going to grab the closest number, right? No. What I want is their gross wages. And their gross wages are the current earnings column over here. So you're absolutely right. So it's 400, 380, 427.50, 560, and 480. Okay? Thank you very much for catching that early, because it was about to be a problem. Okay, are we good? Everybody follows me on the payroll register so far? Okay. Next step, just like with our special journals, we're going to total all the deductions and the gross pay. So you guys with calculators, I'm going to do the medical column. Somebody do Social Security and Medicare, and somebody do income tax, okay? I got medical. Okay, I'm done. Who's next? And somebody calculate our net pay, please.
155 for income tax.
155. Okay.
109.58 for Social Security.
Okay.
$31.87 for Medicare.
3187.
155 for income tax.
155 for income tax.
That's no matter.
I'm sorry. We got net income. Sorry, I reacted. My fault. Well, I need net amount.
I got 1871.05.
Okay. I'm also going to total these out here. 0, 4, 1040, 50, 7, 0, 12. Okay? Are we good? So we've totaled all of our columns. And then when we go to post this, I'm going to do it 2 ways. Where would this go when we post it?
The salary expense for that department.
I understand, but in total, where does all of this get posted? General ledger, right? However, it's a check. It can go in your cash disbursements journal. Good? So just remember that. But it's going to require more than one line because there's lots of things going on here. I'm going to write it up as a journal entry, okay? So the first thing I'm going to start with is my debits. And I have office, If I could write, it would help. Office expense is 1040. Shipping expense is 1207.50. Okay? Let's see. Social Security payable, because it's a liability, the company doesn't get to keep it, they owe it to the government. It's 109.58. Medicare payable is 31.87. Income tax payable is 155. And the last one is, oh, sorry, I'm skipping the medical, for 80. And then it's cash, sorry, for 187,105. Everybody see where my journal entry came from? Just a sec. Everybody see that? This comes here, shipping expense here, Social Security payable, liability, Medicare payable, liability, income tax, liability, medical deducted from their checks, cash. Somebody check that real quick, make sure it balances? It does, okay. It should, unless we made a math error somewhere, but you also want to make sure that your debits equal your credits, right? Everybody good?
Wait, okay, sorry, I'm confused on that part.
Okay.
So we're making sure that all the totals on the top equal all the ones that you're putting in your journal.
All the ones on the left equal the ones on the right, 1040 and then 1207 equal the ones on the bottom.
We totaled up all of the deductions out of the check. We totaled up the net check and the gross wages that were paid by department. And we post to the two departments as an expense. And we record the liabilities for what was withheld from the check that we don't get to keep. It's got to be paid to a governmental entity, and the cash going out. Good? Okay. Okay, questions on how the payroll register works? Questions on how it gets posted?
So it just gets posted to the general journal?
In the homework, and when I throw this at you on an exam, instead of getting posted to the general journal,
Straight to the journal.
no, it gets posted to the cash disbursements journal. Okay?
So you do a several line entry for each check?
Yes. So you'll have an entry in the other column for all of this stuff, and then the one out in the cash column for your net amount. Okay?
So on a test, will we have the tax tables, or will that be calculated?
I will give you the tax tables. You get to look them up. Okay? Good to know that now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. On the bright side, the next exam is the last one. So that's a positive, yes? Okay. Moving on. Let's see. The slides show you the posting we just went through, and I've already covered that. So, all right. Yes, go ahead.
So we're posting it to the general ledger with cash disbursement. Would each one of those columns, I mean, for each, like check 101 would have each one of those line items.
No, I'd post them in total. That's why you use the payroll register, because you can post from these totals just like you do.
And that's what I was asking, is do you make an entry for each check or just one entry for the whole record?
I'd do one entry for the whole thing,
Okay.
just like I did here. Okay, one entry for the whole thing, post from the totals. Save yourself the time. Because if you have 600 employees, you've got a long day ahead of you. Right? Other questions? Okay. So most companies will keep a separate checking account that they just write payroll checks out of. Makes it easier when you go to do the reconciliation like we did in the last chapter, 2 chapters ago now. A lot of companies will pay you by direct deposit now. So if you're doing direct deposit, could it still go in the cash disbursements journal? Yeah. Your question?
Yeah, so when you post the entry, do you, under description, do you make a note of the check numbers, like the range?
Yeah, I would say per payroll register, what's tomorrow's date? May 10. Check numbers 101 through 105. Okay, it gives them a place to go back and look and see where it came from, so you've left a good audit trail. And away you go. Okay? Let's see. I think we're good here. Here's something else that we're going to cover. One of the legal requirements when you do payroll is you have to track the wages earned by each employee. So this is a payroll register. Notice it has every employee that's going to get paid this pay period. This on the slide is called an individual earnings record. Notice this is an earnings record just for Alicia Martinez. And it's got all of her information on it, her pay rate, her address, social security, date of birth, marital status, number of allowances. All that important information you need to know is there. And it looks a lot like a payroll register, except it's only her checks. So here's the one from January 6th, here's the one from January 13th, here's the one from January 20th, 27th. Here's a total for January. So she has her own earnings card, if you want to call it that, her own page. So once you're done with the payroll register up there, you transpose it to each individual employee's personal earnings record. Okay? It's part of the record keeping process. If you're doing this in an automated fashion, the computer's doing it for you. Automated is obviously quicker. Okay. So, questions? Nothing? Go ahead and stop. We're good.